Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to the showdown between Khorne and the dinosaurs. It's going to be myself with Valkia coming in with a Warshrine, actually. So we do have the Warshrine on the Cultist, facing off against Subutai, who's going to be, I believe, using the Banana Salon. Yes, it's going to be a life salon. Now, for my build, frontline is going to be Khorne Warriors with Halberds. I like them as like a frontline anchor against dinos because with their 110 armor and relatively good combat stats, they can actually handle Saurus no problem, in my experience. And, you know, most Lizard players are going to be using Feral Cold Ones, Croxagors, various other dinosaurs, so I feel like the dual purpose of having the old halberds is worth it. You know, obviously the shielded warriors would be a little bit better against skirmishers. Dual weapons would just straight up kill infantry faster, but they would all get wrecked by the monsters and monstrous units. So I think the halberds is the safe bet. On top of that, we do have the Cultists of Khorne and the Shrine. Now, the Shrine has always been perceived as a bit of a meme, but I think when you can throw a Cultist on top, it becomes a little bit less haggard. So here's what it brings to the table. The Khorne one gives you, obviously, it's going to give leadership and vigor per second when he's in combat, which is quite nice to nearby units. It also gives baseline leadership here. So with these two combined things, it gives plus 18 leadership, and it has the Giver of Ruinous Glory. So this one takes time to build up, but once it maximizes, it actually gives 15% damage and melee attack to nearby units, which is really not bad on a map like Gates of Ekron, which often devolves into blob fights. So Chaos Warriors of Khorne with halberds. One cultist on foot. Valkia is a must against dinos. She's super good at chasing down any large targets. Good against salamanders, croxagors, characters, you name it. She is the hunter of champions. I'm sorry, Wolfric. She gets the job done. Now over here, we do have a Soul Grinder of Khorne. The reason why I bought this bad boy is because if, you know, my opponent comes in with like a Dread Saurian or other big scary monsters, yeah, Valkia can do well there, but she's not going to be able to solo a Dread Saurian. So I wanted to have halberds, Valkia, as well as a Soul Grinder of Khorne, which are amazing fighters. 55 melee attack, 500 weapon strength, and 720 cannonball fire. I mean, they can do some work. So teaming them out together to try and take down some of the bigger threats. Now for the forces of Subutai here, it is going to be pretty classic Lizards. Lizards have a couple ways of playing, but opening line of Skink Skirmishers, not bothering with Chameleons, which makes sense. Chameleons are more expensive. They have a little bit more kind of output, but in terms, I think their weapon strength's a little bit higher, but the Skink Skirmishers, you don't need to pay for the missile resist on the Chameleons, right? And Khorne doesn't really have missile play outside of like giant cannonballs flying in your face. So Skink Skirmishers, backfield is going to be Saurus Warriors and Red Crested Skinks, and we do have a Slan Mage of Life. Pretty cool stuff, man. In the back we got some spears, so very much a Lizard tide with Croxagor support, as Subutai does call in the Cohort of Twaddle. So the Cohort of Twaddle, they certainly pack a punch with their mean power fists. Those guys going to be waddling around and certainly taking some of my dudes to the old club. Cultists of Khorne going to be heading down here to try and push back these Skink Skirmishers, and the cannonball shot is going down from the Soul Grinder of Khorne. Now, these things can't be aimed. You just kind of run them at whatever you want them to shoot, and they'll usually rip some shots. They've missed a couple, but over the course of a game, I found that they do some okay work with their cannons. So Valkia gets a Sleipnir here. I saw them lined up at a weird angle and did some fat head geometry there, and we do nail those Skink Skirmishers with the Sleipnir. So it's a good start. It's not like a ton of damage. I mean, it is a lot of damage, but they still have 80 models here, 78, and they're cheap units, but it does force them back, and it's going to make them easier to shut down as the game does progress here. So all is calm. On the far side, I noticed that he's really committing pretty heavily over here, so I was like, all right, let's just send some Chaos Warriors of Khorne over to Objective 2, and from here we're just going to do a hard press and try and push the Lizards back to their point. Really put that Khorne pressure on, try and get the blob fight so we can get the Shrine going, and hope for the best. But, easier said than done. Subutai is a cunning foe indeed, as the Cohort of Twaddle is going to be retreating back on the flank. Skink Skirmishers putting a little bit of dart fire into these bad boys, and now we are getting ready to party. He's up in the sky. Valkia the Bloody going to be descending on her foes and certainly looking to take some skulls for Khorne. And, I'm sure he's down to party with Lizard skulls. So Chaos Warriors of Khorne duking it out right here. Their frenzy is active. I mean, their combat stats, even as a halberd unit, are just straight up better than the Saurus. So they should be able to win that fight. You notice how we kind of pull back the halberds here. I didn't want to get enveloped, so we formed a little bit of a defensive square where the auras of the Warshrine are basically going to be hitting everything. That was more or less the idea. So halberds fighting here. And check out the damage on the Soul Grinder right here. So it moves in and gets a big splash attack if memory serves. There it goes. And yeah, that's some solid damage right there. I mean, those Red Crested Skinks got pounded. Saurus Warriors also getting the business, and the Soul Grinder's doing quite good. Now, as far as the Shrine goes, it is being focused a little bit by some of the dart guns, these Skink Skirmishers, but shouldn't be too devastating. The halberd line is holding very well, and we also have the Cultists in there, very little damage being taken. And now you can see, I believe the stats should start to climb on the Cultists in terms of what it's providing here to the Chaos Warriors off the Shrine. More Warriors coming in to support. Not going to be sending them into the blob. Could have been in Dweller's Blow or some other witchcraft, so we're going to leave them back. And here are the Fleshhounds, Halberd Warriors, and the Soul Grinder of Khorne do effectively push back the dinos, but Subutai coming in with a countercharge. The Cohort of Twaddle does move down there and punches some of the Fleshhounds right in the dome. But we are able to retreat back, saturating the halberds in, and now the halberds are in good combat versus mostly large targets, Coldland Spear Riders, other big boys, and looking super cool while they do it. And the Shrine is basically just parking here. The Shrine building intensity. As far as the intensity goes, let's take a look. It's up to currently 3 melee attack and 5% base damage to all nearby units. That's really not bad. You know, it can stack up pretty quickly depending on how many units you have nearby. A little bit of flank pressure coming in from Subutai. It's going to be Skink Skirmishers, so Fleshhound's going to move out to hunt those bad boys down. Meanwhile, the Soul Grinder and Halberd still fighting very effectively, and honestly, not a single point in my battle line has buckled. Khorne would certainly shed a happy tear for his children here today. They're doing a great job, fighting well in his name, and we're pretty well ahead on value at this point. Granted, you have to remember the dinosaurs do have access to healing, so this land has been casting Earthbloods and various other effects, so you got to put some respect on that. So Fleshhound's doing a good job nibbling on the Skink Skirmishers. Side point is in our control, and these are going to be the most chill warriors of Khorne ever. They're basically just going to sit there for the duration of the game. Because they're so slow at 28 speed, moving them over here, by the time I move them over, they would reach the halfway point, and my opponent would have just sent some skinks over there to grab the point, and it would be like a pretty big disaster. So Cultist dropping a shrine dropping a summon from the shrine is pretty cool, and also big force multiplying effect, right? Oh, look at him, he's jumping down on the side of that thing and hacking at some of the guys on the ground. All right, that's pretty cool. But basically, the Bloodletters are going to be getting a big combat buff as well, rocking 40 melee attack, flanking many of the Saurus warriors. Now the Death Star of Khorne is going to be moving forward. Looking at the Warshrine intensity, it's currently at 6 melee attack and 11% base weapon damage, and also it's going to be increasing the armor piercing damage by 12%. So that's really, really solid. On the side, Halberd's holding well. Subutai coming for a bit of a flank to try and maybe concave and collapse in, but we do have Chaos Warriors with dual weapons coming in. I think they're a good inclusion. I think you want to open with Halberds, and once the Halberds are really able to kind of grind things down, then you can pull in the dual weapons, because they just rip through the Lizard infantry like super hard. So the big armor on the Soul Grinder is certainly helping. 90 armor hanging in there as he continues to do battle with the Cohort of Bottle. It is a demon, so the magic damage on the Cohort is very pertinent here. But overall, Soul Grinder of Khorne is, I think it has like almost 9,000 HP starting, so it's able to anchor in there and do well as Chaos Warriors keep fighting on all fronts. And now we start to push the dinos up a little bit, and the Lizard army is starting to feel the push. You can see the ground is being given. The battle line that was initially in play is now being pushed back a little bit. And here on this side, Valkia is going to be helping her doggos, the best of boys, to nibble down these anti-large cavalry. Granted, the cavalry probably will be able to crumble these hounds or get them to disintegrate. Valkia's anti-large attack should be able to help turn the tide eventually. So dual weapon warriors moving in here. These dual weapon warriors are going to be pretty jacked right now. Rocking 54 melee attack, just absolutely on the sauce right now. As you can see the buff here, you see that little like Warshrine buff, it's kind of hard to show you, but yeah, it's going down. So those guys are getting just all sorts of stat bonuses. Higher weapon strength, almost 60 weapon strength on these Chaos Warriors with dual weapons, like almost like Chosen level stats really, which is pretty rad. But the cult is here, and on the other side, we got the Halberds and the Chaos Warriors fighting a bit of a scary fight versus Slan and the Cohort of Bottle, which I've been having a problem just outright taking down, but now we call them the heavy hitter. So the Minotaurs of Khorne with great weapons are basically a hard counter against Croxagores. Croxagores, you have two types. You have the Power Fist Croxagores, which are a generalist, and the Spanking Paddle Croxagores, which are bonus versus infantry, but like they're still not going to win against the Minotaur of Khorne, either of them. The Minotaurs of Khorne are born and bred for one purpose, and that's dealing with big, large targets. So they're coming in, getting ready to party. I accidentally pulled the Warshrine back because I saw it being focused by all the skinks. In retrospect, should have kept that thing up. But now we see Valkia holding down the Croxagores, and the Minotaur is going to be coming in and just absolutely paddling these guys. It's going to be a beatdown. Straight up, no mercy on these. So yeah, Croxagores running. They're shaken as they do get hunted down by the Minotaurs and the Chaos Warriors with dual weapons moving up on the Lizard armies. As more Croxagores trying to intercept my troops, maybe do a little bit of back pressure here. As honestly, I was kind of running out of units. My army was very elite, so I didn't have too many things to summon. So we have the Minotaurs, like 2 Fleshhounds and then 2 Horsemen, and that's it. Because I don't really have things to unsummon, right? Which is a little bit precarious. The mass route right here for the dinos. We do see the Skink Skirmishers getting pushed back, Croxagores on the run. We have a Soul Grinder. We have like the Cultists, Minotaurs. The Warshrine is supporting my backfield, which is being counter-pushed by the dinos with their new Croxagore reinforcements. And these are the Spanking Paddle Croxagores. Those are the ones with the anti-infantry. But even, 21 Halberds here. The funny thing is this Shrine is giving them 18 leadership right now. So they would have normally been broken, but they're still hanging in there and fighting like champs. Probably going to break because I'm trying to pull the Shrine back so it doesn't get caught. And going to be fighting with the Minotaurs of Khorne here in just a moment as the other Chaos Warriors pull back to try and support Objective 2. On Objective 3, we see it just kind of being chill. Those warriors just on vacation. And, it's a bit of an advantage for Subutai in some ways because it's like, 850 gold that he's committing everything to this fight. And I've only committed, 850 gold less, basically. You get what I'm saying. But now the Shrine's going to be leading the charge, looking super cool. I love the effects on that. And those Minotaurs going to get a big stab up, as well as the remaining Khorne warriors. You can see these Minotaurs of Khorne with the Horn of Khorne and the Shrine rocking 76 melee attack going to absolutely butcher the cohort of Waddle. Even though they are the anti-infantry Minotaurs, with that kind of a stat line, doesn't really matter. So throwing weapons are in, and it looks like the Dino's going to be throwing in Feral Cold Ones, which are a very good answer against the Chaos Warriors of Khorne. With healing taken into account, I'm at about 10,000, he's at 6.3. I suppose we could subtract maybe 1,500 from that, saying that it would be, 8,000 to 10, which is still a pretty big value lead for the forces of the Blood God here. As the Soul Grinder keeps doing work, Chaos Warriors of Khorne moving in, Valkia anchoring the troopers, providing anti-large against some of the various Kroxigors. And here the cohort of Waddle finally is stopped, and the Minotaurs with 53 melee attack, a big weapon strength, going to be able to take on these Kroxigors most likely, especially with the support of a couple Marauder Horsemen of Khorne, which are a great unit. These guys are solid. 44 weapon strength means they're going to be able to kill Skinks and cheap chaff units and rear charge Saurus effectively, and their throwing axes are essential here in this matchup. You really, really need them. Khorne's still pushing through, and the old Skink's putting a little bit of poke on the Soul Grinder, but that thing has been really resilient. I feel like it has like missile resist or something. I guess it's just the demonic physical resist, which is really mitigating quite a bit of the damage. So the last cultist summon does go down here. So the Bloodletters do get called out, and they should be able to help clean up the last of the Dino Troopers. Side objective not being pressured at all. Now the Hordes of Khorne going to be advancing up towards Objective 1, which should be a pretty easy grab. The Dinos are really, really on the back foot, and I did miss it, but the Minotaurs with great weapons did actually just take down this land. So he got karate chopped. He was pushing towards my objective, but they ended up losing the fight. He was too slow to get away from the Minotaurs here, which are currently at 2,000 value, which is pretty sauced. So you still see it going. Soul Grinder fighting, Cultists battling away here. Bloodletters of Khorne going to be pushing up towards the high ground, and now you see the objective here is going to most likely be flipping, as the Minotaurs are going to just butcher these Skinks here. Skinks, Red Crested Skinks are good against infantry, but not so good against monstrous troopers, with their very low melee defense and their armor as well. So the very elite Skinks not having a good time, and that's basically going to be it. Blood for the Blood God, skulls for the Skull Throne. That is a victory for Khorne. And yeah, I have to say, man, they're a really fun faction. I love all the Chaos factions. They're all so cool and so thematic. I know Khorne has the lowest win rate right now in the competitive scene, but Lizards are a pretty decent mid-tier faction. And I feel like Khorne has some matchups that are a little bit underrated, but not having magic is a big rough thing for sure. But yeah, overall, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how Khorne develops in the future once some of the top dogs maybe get nerfed or balanced out. We'll have to see. Halberds, I think, were the right choice. Saurus and Lizard and Skinks, even if they don't bring monsters, like the Halberds will perform well, and it's better to hedge your bets against some of the bigger threats. Like, if I didn't have Halberds and I went Shielded Warriors, I would have probably lost that game. The Kroxigors would have spanked them into oblivion, but the Halberds were able to hold and also do well against the Saurus. I actually really liked the Warshrine. I gotta say. Now, that was a map-specific thing. If we were on a map that was like an Itza or like a wider map where the Warshrine couldn't be in like a linear blob like that, I don't think I would have brought it. But honestly, on that map, it felt like it was helpful. So 1,500 here, Valkia at 1,900. For the reinforcements, we did get good value on the Minotaurs, 2,000, 1,600. And of course, the throwing axes came in and got a little bit of poke in the late game. For the Dino Army, big performers were the cohort of Waddle, and I would imagine maybe the other Kroxigors did okay. Not as much. Yeah, it seems like it was really just that one Kroxigor, and I think the Saurus probably did fine. Yeah, not bad. GG, well played. Blood for the Blood God. Hopefully you enjoyed that one, and let me know what factions you want to see. And hey, if you're feeling like trying something new, go pick an underdog. Give them a try and see how it goes, man. Khorne is fun, and I'm looking forward to kind of exploring them and giving them an old trying some tournaments. GG. See you guys. Take care.